Today on Rappler. The MTRCB junks SMNI's appeal over its suspension. Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte promises more benefits for teachers. A state university in Pampanga mistakenly names its sports venue after Senator Lito Lapid. The Land Transportation Office investigates a grand illegal scheme of license plate thefts. And the International Press Institute calls for a stop to journalist killings in Gaza. The Movie and Television Review and Classification Board junks an appeal from the Apollo Kibuloy-owned Sunshine Media Network International, upholding its decision to suspend 2 of the network's shows. In December 2023, the MTRCB imposed a 14-day preventive suspension on the SMNI shows Gikan sa Masa, Para sa Masa, and Laban Kasama ang Bayan. In its motions for reconsideration, the MTRCB finds SMNI's assertions unconvincing and lacking persuasiveness. The MTRCB also extends the show's suspension period to 28 days. This decision comes after the National Telecommunications Commission ordered SMNI on Tuesday, January 23, to cease its radio and television operations, following findings by the NTC that SMNI allegedly failed to strictly comply with an initial 30-day suspension imposed in December. Vice President and Education Secretary Sara Duterte promises more benefits for teachers to ensure effective delivery of education to millions of Filipino students. At her second basic education report, Duterte says the Education Department will release an order containing guidelines on the removal of administrative tasks from teachers so they could focus on teaching. For years, teachers have complained that paperwork piling up hinders them from preparing lessons. Duterte already mentioned the removal of administrative tasks from teachers' workload in her last report in 2023. The Vice President also says the DepEd would provide overtime pay for teachers and that they would issue a policy on overload pay. Education experts cite overworked teachers as one of the reasons behind the Philippines' high level of learning poverty.
Teacher welfare will always be at the forefront of our agenda.
The Pampanga State Agricultural University faces criticism after it names its new sports venue after Senator Lito Lapid, an act prohibited by law. Senator Lapid and his son attended the inauguration of the covered court last Monday, January 22, together with university and local government officials of Magalang Town. Republic Act 1059 prohibits naming public places, schools, buildings, parks, plazas, thoroughfares, government-owned aircraft, and vessels after living persons, except when the property is donated to the government. The state university acknowledges the oversight and says it promptly removed the name of the senator from the building. It also explains the project was initiated by the university's previous administration but was built through Lapid's initiative. The university's sports venue is now simply called the University Covered Court. The Land Transportation Office is investigating what it calls a, quote, grand illegal scheme involving staff stealing license plates and selling them for 20,000 pesos a pair. So far, 3 suspects were arrested and charged with qualified theft and robbery after being caught in the act of stealing license plates out of a plate-making plant in Quezon City on Thursday, January 25. The LTO also orders a large-scale manhunt for Alan Joker Abrigo, the suspected team leader and boss of the 3 suspects. LTO Chief Vigor Mendoza II says they have yet to determine how many plates have been stolen. The police and LTO are also investigating how the stolen license plates tie in with a new car financing modus. Under the scheme, a financier would acquire a vehicle and illegally sell the car using duplicated plates and fake official receipt and certificates of registration. The International Press Institute calls for a stop to journalist killings in Gaza, with at least 80 reporters and media workers dead in Israeli airstrikes. The IPI says Israel must respect the rules of war, credibly investigate any killings of journalists by its forces, and allow international journalists access to Gaza. The undersigned members of the IPI's executive board includes Nobel Peace Prize laureate and Rappler CEO Maria Ressa. The IPI describes the killings in Gaza and southern Lebanon as unabated. It also shines the light on the apparent targeting in some cases of journalists in Gaza and the region. The institute says it intends to work with partners to pursue accountability before a court of law for those who deliberately target journalists in a conflict zone. The IPI also calls out Israel's allies, which include the US, to take immediate and concrete action to protect the rights of journalists to cover this war freely and safely and put pressure on Israel. And that's today's wrap. I'm Nina Liu. Thank you for watching. Click the link below for the full story. Follow us on Rappler's YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok.